Hi everyone, let's paint together today this 25 centimeters mandala Sweet Dreams. And I so in love with this combination, so right after this one I created the picky piece, and tutorial is on my Patreon page if you wanna. So let's start. We need to find the center of mandala. I will link video if you need instructions. Circles every 1 centimeters and line every 15 degrees. For the base I used state gray color with a drop of black color. So this also, all information in description below this video. This is colors I will use. So the white peach color. This one, it's a custom color. I will create with Melon and white peach. Again, in description. Melon, Terra coral, second custom color, and the last one, state gray. And also, one of the custom colors, second custom color I created with white to make it a little bit lighter, and 3 drops, also in description. For the center, I will use our first custom color. Put in the drop, and you remember that you can come back a couple of times with the same tool and adding more and more paint on the top to make your drops more visible. And if you don't like shape, you can correct this a little bit, as you see on the video. It was not ideally circle, so I decided to a little bit correct this one. Also, you can use a thin tool or needle, as I do, and move paint a little bit around, and this way creating the ideal shape as you want. You can use a thin tool, or sometimes I really like to use needle. I will use white peach color. So I want to create small line dots around this central big dot, and because it's so small, I'm not relying on the marks. If you can, you should, but I'm just making like as close as I can, step by step. Obviously, you need to fit all dots. So when you are ending your circle, pay close attention how many dots so should be inside of the circle. So make it nice, like that. So for next one, you can rely on lines, but again, I will do my best, but at the same time, I will put this next row of dots playing between previous dots, like that. And the color I'm using, it's my second custom color. It's state gray with white. All materials, as I said, in the description box below this video. Again, as close as you can, but not touching each other. And when you're doing this really small dots, really nice, at the end it looks like a candy. I can't explain, but really small dots, like they're playing. They are playing, and they're just like walking in mandala painting. Again, pay close attention to fit like color Correct, there is no number, but it's more like the all dots inside, so don't leave big gap between dots. So the next one, what I gonna do? So I'm placing my dot with my first custom color on a line, but not on each, but on every second line. And walking right like that around. So I'm leaving enough space between dots to place another nice dots later on, like that. So you can come back and place more paint on the top of your dot. So there are a couple of ways how you can play later on. I decided to go this way. So I will place dot on a line between my previous dots, between second and third lines, circle lines. And with thin tool or needle, I'm making like tails towards mandala center. The color I'm using is Terra Coral. And again, as you see, I'm doing this every second line. And my tail's going between this space, between previous dots. Like it's a space that we left exactly because of this reason, to place and make this, to place another ornament and make this space like walking and making like interesting. Like that. Really interesting and nice combinations. So moving forward, what we're gonna do? There are a couple of ways to walk around, but really small dots around these marks will be really like visible and nice. So white peach color, I'm placing bigger dot on the top like that. And with smaller size, 1.5 millimeter, sorry, half millimeter, I'm walking around as you see on the video. And pay attention that actually more nice small dots you are placing, it's more interesting it looks after that. So don't rush, take your time. So 1 millimeter dot on the top, like that. You can finish circle. And after that with half millimeter, walking around. And you, I believe, already can see how it looks like candy. Really beautiful. All these small details, like they're worth it. It's not so easy to create this. You need to pay more attention, be careful, wait until everything dry out, but at the end you're getting a really beautiful result. Look at this, how nice it is already. So moving forward, next circle line and space between our previous dots. The color I'm using is our second custom color. And with thin tool or with a needle, as you see, I'm making small tails. I'm not going too far. I'm just making the point that it's not just circle, it's kind of a tails, like that. And because we are using the same base color, State Gray, for this second custom color, the same as I did use for my base color, it's kind of working really well all together. because this is not too big mandala, you can finish circle and after that create small tails. Don't do the same with big mandalas because your paint drying out. And with acrylic it's happening pretty fast. So what we're gonna do next, because we created already some type of ornament, we can plane the same way. So I'm placing big enough dot with our white peach color on the top and with smaller tool walking around. You can use the same. When your tool's pretty small, you can technically use the same tool to walk around. With bigger tools, it's not always working. It's just giving you from my experience. But with these sides, it's pretty working pretty well. And you can come back later on. It's one of the tips how to make your dots more visible. When everything dry out, you can come back and place this with the same tool, with the same or smaller tool, and with the same color, paint on the top of the dot, and this way make your dots more popping out from the surface. Obviously, if you want to do this. But because of the contrast, because, for example, white peach color, pretty light, you see, and it's also this contrast making your dots much more visible. So moving forward, it's my secret. Sometimes I do this on this central one. I'm just immediately, when I finished, I'm adding a little bit more paint. With small brush, small but long enough brush, like maybe centimeter or two, I want to create small strokes. You see, I'm literally will start my stroke with my first custom color over there between next lines, and I'm walking like around and releasing brush at the end. I don't want to go too far. So technically I'm placing my brush, and for a couple millimeters I'm going straight along the line, mark line, and only after that I'm walking around. Because my brush pretty small, my strokes, as you see, looks really nice and gentle. I'm really enjoying this colors combination. Like that. Really beautiful. Same brush and our color Terra Coral. I want to create these small strokes over there. Really small. I don't want to go too far. I'm placing releasing brush. I'm starting, as you see, a little bit lower, like half of centimeter lower, and making my moves around. I'm not going too deep. I just want to create mostly the top and middle sides. And you see how this immediately changing our palette, making our flowers that we are just creating this big mandala flower more like deep. And as you see, I'm more playing between flowers rather than around. Like that, really beautiful. To be honest, we may leave it like that, really nice. So our gray 3D drops. You can use another brand, just find some kind of a silver or light gray. And as you see, I'm just putting small on the top of these flowers, like that, really nice. Another one, Nuvo drops, kind of a pinkish tone. You can find all description below this video, all materials. I'm trying to do this the same size or smaller than the gray ones, and leaving some space between, definitely. Don't forget about that. And coming back again, gray one, and this one I want to create really small ones. Like that. And now when we are painting, we need to be pretty careful because 3 drops still fresh, so be careful. You can definitely come back later on, let everything dry out and come back later on if you're scared to mess up. Remember about that. So let's move forward. I want to create the base for my next flower, starting from this circle line. As you see, we are passing 2 circle lines, or I believe 5 from the angle. And the color is Terra Coral. I'm creating the base for next flowers. Like that. You can come back and add a little bit more paint on the top. And with small tool, I want to walk around. So what I'm doing, I'm putting our white peach color. So 2 from on the top of this big dot, and from both sides of our mark line, and third one on the top. This is the easiest way how you can do these 3 dots on the top. So first place 2 and next one on the top. 2, 3, 2, 3. And again, you can come back and add more paint on the top later on to make your dots more pop out if you want to, or maybe even another color. Again, try to experiment. And with smaller tool, I'm walking around. You see, I'm going like a little bit lower and giving some space. Even I didn't create tail with Terra Coral dot, I'm still leaving some space because later on, when everything dry out, I will put 3 drops on the top, and with needle or thin tool you can do a tails with this 3 drop. So this space will be in use later on. And again, the same rule. More these nice small dots you will create, nicer this will looks like at the end. Like that. Amazing colors. Let's be careful with our 3 drops. And I'm coming back to the small brush, and I want to create the same type of strokes. Starting on top of this line, and I'm moving around. Color I'm using, again, my first custom color, like that. You see, I can create the larger, longer strokes with the same brush, just pressing nicely at the beginning and releasing at the end. And obviously should be enough paint on your brush. Like that. And the next stroke, I was like confused a little bit what I wanna put the next, but I decided to go with a second custom color, and I will use the same brush, starting like around and a little bit lower than our strokes that we just put in, like that. I'm creating really small strokes, and this color pretty light. That's why this will be like, looks like, obviously it's gray, but it's like light gray. It looks really nice. So I'm placing this 2-3 millimeters lower than the top of my pinkish strokes, let's call it this way. Even the basic color calls Melon, it looks like pink for me. I don't know why. But really nice anyways. Like that. You can play with the same brush, choose a little bit bigger, but I'm doing the same brush, and the color I'm using Melon, starting like 5 millimeters lower, you see on the video, and placing really nice strokes around. I'm still inside of the space that we created with treated drops. And because my brush is so small, it's really letting me place different strokes, and this way adding another tones at the end of the stroke. I'm really careful at the end. You see, I'm not going too deep. I'm releasing brush before I will touch my previous strokes on our first row of flowers. And the next one, obviously we got really nice Terra color. I'm starting even lower, you see on the video, and pretty careful with 3D drops. I'm not touching them. Again, you see I'm playing between flowers more. Pretty nice, pushing down my brush at the beginning and releasing at the end, like that. And again, really interesting combination. The colors like working together. So let's move forward and place next row of flowers between these ones that we just created. And I'm using State Gray color and placing dots on the second line from the edge, and Yeah, I'm placing enough paint to make this pop out from the surface. You can come back and add a little bit more paint on the top. And the same way as I did create already our previous flowers, 2 dots and sort on the top like that. And the color is, I'm using first custom color. The size of this tool, 1.5 millimeter, I believe the best way you can compare with, it's 1.5 millimeter. And after that, I decided with the same tool, making and the same color, walking around like that. And again, I'm walking a little bit lower that my gray dots ended to give some space and add some tails and more details later on. Like that. And next move the same small brush and our white peach color. The same way I'm placing strokes around. I don't have too much space, but still enough to make nice strokes. And you see, I'm not going too deep between previous flowers. I'm just leaving these strokes like that. When we are creating mandalas on any custom colors, it's working like another color anyways. So I don't want to try even to cover all my base color when I'm using custom colors for the base. And second custom color, small strokes around. And you see I'm starting a little bit lower with my strokes. And one more thing, don't rush. If you are rushing, it means you are not like in a flow, especially now at times when we are always rushing. Take your time. If you don't have enough time, came back later on. But enjoy the process. I'm taking a little bit bigger brush, but technically you can use the same one. And this is our first custom color. And I want to create a little bit bigger strokes. That's why I did choose bigger brush. But I must say we don't have like too much space left, so you still can technically use the same brush. Again, I'm not going too deep with my strokes. releasing brush. Pressing, releasing. Pressing, releasing. Let's play more with strokes. So we kind of got some space, but not too much, so be a little bit careful. I'm starting lower, as you see, using our Melon color and making nice strokes, but really light at the end, because I don't have too much space and I prefer to not place strokes on the top of each other. So our flowers kinda should be separated from each other. So obviously I got some space. If you got not enough, maybe use a smaller brush just to add like this tone, this color, but not placing too big strokes. If you got more space, use bigger brush. Use this as a tutorial and literally create your own custom painting. Like that, really beautiful. And some space over there. So let's use our Terra coral, small or bigger or middle-sized brush, and just place small 2 strokes like that. Just not touching another strokes of flowers, just these 2, by creating additional flower between the flowers. We can later on, when everything dry out, add small 3D drops and make this plain all together. But again, you can see already we just added 2 small strokes with this nice color and this kind of working all together. Our mandala playing together. And please let me know in the comments, do you like this way or end result? Because I'm kind of confused, because I really like this one. So letting everything dry out and come back like in a 5-6 hours or maybe next day, and let's put more details on the top. So everything dry out, I'm coming back the next day and I want to create more nice details. I put on these first 2 rows of dots paint on the top of each dot and make this more pop out from the surface. And now I want to go with more 3D drops. I got gray one and more like pinkish one. My materials in description box below this video, but you definitely can use what you prefer. And first I decided to go with our white peach and small, really small 1 millimeter, 1.5 millimeter dots on the top of this our dots. You can see how this makes it much brighter. So next, I want to put nice dots on top of these ones, and I'm using our first custom color like that. So yes, 3D drops working, but also we can do the paint. We can play with paint and different combinations. So next I wanna use my pinkish drops. I'm using really small amount of dots, and I'm placing small dots between these ones. This is our third row of dots, like that. With gray one or silver ones, I'm putting my dots between, like with the small spots that we got over there. Like that, really nice. It's really small ones. And I'm putting small amount of 3 drops on this gray basis, and with thin tool, or I'm using needle, I'm making small tails, but doubling down on this shape of that we created with the paint. And remember, you can do this, but you're placing this on the top when everything dry out. With pinkish one, I'm again putting some dots on these spots. Really small ones, just to add some details. And with needle, small tails up, like that. Moving forward, I want to place nice strokes over there to lighten up this. And I'm using really small brush, like maybe 5 millimeters long. White peach color. And you see, I'm starting over there between these 2 dots and going down. Technically, I'm making small strokes on the base of this row of flowers. I'm not going too deep, but I'm definitely lighting up this area. It's not too much space over there, but still enough to make this much more interesting. Like that. Really interesting. So let me know if you like it, because it's definitely working the different way once we place these light strokes. Our pinkish dots, 3D drops, I'm putting this on this base, and again with thin tool or needle, making tails towards the center. You can do the opposite. You can place silver ones to make a contrast. But it's definitely still working because they're shiny. So I really like this actually. So let's do more strokes over there the same way. Or I removed it because I didn't like it, and I decided to go another way. So I'm making white peach color, really small tiny strokes, kind of adding petals to this last row of flowers, like that. And because it's really not too much space and everything dry out, I can a little bit even correct if my strokes go a little bit on the top or not the way I wanna. Like that. Really small ones. My brush really small, maybe 5-6 millimeters long, and I'm really pressing down to make this wider but not too long. And like that. If you don't have the space for these strokes, just not doing this. And our pinkish 3D drops on this gray base. It was a matter of time once I will start this combining this gray and pinkish base and 3D drops. And with thin tool or with needle, like I did, I'm creating tails. And the silver drops between these strokes with that we created with Terra coral. And again, small tails. And I'm missing something, so I decided to go with small dots over there on the top of these strokes, Terra coral strokes. The color is white peach, just small dots. And again, with the same tool, the same color, small dots over there. Sometimes you literally don't need to use 3D drops, enough just a paint like that. Really beautiful. I hope you enjoy this painting. Join my Patreon page for more tutorials, a lot of them free for my channel members, and see you on next video. Bye!